What's going on, everybody? It's another episode of Light Sports Breakdown. Happy Monday. You know, from the back, jerseys. It's kind of ironic. I have LeBron's first NBA Finals with the jersey patch. And then I have a Tim Duncan jersey that they beat the Cavs that year. And I'm actually wearing a LeBron James Team USA. And I'm wearing a Heat hat. He played for the Heat, so kind of ironic how I incorporated all that. But enough small talk. Let's talk about the NBA season. Like 3 or 4 games left in the season, and then the playoffs happen. But before we get to the playoffs, there's a play-in tournament. Last year, during the bubble, we didn't really get to experience much of the play-in tournament because there was only like 2 teams in the West actually 3 teams. And then it became 2 teams, and it was just Portland versus Memphis, and Portland ended up securing the 8th seed. But now they revised the play-in tournament for this season, and it was hard for me to understand at first, but now I'm going to explain it to you guys. So basically, the playoffs are 1 through 8, and it's still going to remain that. But for the play-in tournament, seeds 7 through 10 are going to play in the play-in tournament. 7 and 8 will play in game 1 of their matchup, and whoever wins that will be the 7th seed. The 8th seed will then play in game 3, because 9 and 10 will be playing in game 2, and whoever wins faces the loser in the 7 and 8 matchup, and then if it's 7 versus 10 or 8 versus 9, or 7 versus 9, then they're the 8th seed. So there's going to be 6 games, 3 games in the Eastern Conference, 3 games in the Western Conference, 7 through 10 seed. And a lot of fans, and particularly, it's ironic, LeBron James was not very fond of the play-in tournament. The Lakers are currently in the 7th seed, and they could have themselves playing in the play-in tournament. I'm a Miami Heat fan. They are just barely out of the play-in tournament, but things can change. They have 2 big games against Boston, so they gotta take one of those to try to avoid that. But the whole concept of the play-in tournament, in my opinion, is good, but I just don't agree with it. It's unfortunate because now, if you're in the 1 through 6 seed, you pretty much have a guaranteed spot. And also, another point is that the 7 and 8 seed, they only have to win 1 game to advance to make their seeding. If you're the 9 and 10 seed, you have to win 2 straight games to just try to make it into the postseason, which adds some suspense to it. So I kind of like that, but it's kind of a disadvantage if you're a lower seed. And I mean, if you're below the 8th seed, then the likelihood of you making the playoffs is not very high, but now that you have a chance this year. I believe that, honestly, the NBA should think about maybe incorporating kind of like the March Madness type format where there's many 1-game series, and then when you get to like the regional semifinals, you return to the first round, second round, semifinals, and then the finals. The whole upset factor, you could be like the 15th seed in the East and you upset like the 3rd, 4th seed. Like, that's just crazy. And I think it would be good for all these fan bases. But I kind of understand in the NBA's mindset, you don't want to get away from tradition, and how legit would that type of season be. But I think you'd get a lot of high ratings. Like I said, upset factor would be very good for basketball. You get more basketball. I said baseball, but basketball. You get more basketball games, and who doesn't like basketball? The NBA playoffs are one of the most exciting sports series ever. I mean, World Series is electric. Super Bowl, the NHL Stanley Cup. there's just a lot of sporting events that when you reach that point, it's just electric. But March Madness, in the month of March, it's just crazy. And, everyone tries to get that perfect bracket, but no one has ever gotten it. It's very unfortunate. But if the NBA incorporated that, I think that would add a nice flair to it and give more teams a chance, because a lot of teams are just tanking just to get a lottery pick. So make them play more basketball and give them like that extra fire. Like, even though the probability of them advancing is very low, the worst team can beat the best team on any night. So I just think that would be awesome if they incorporated that. But the play-in tournament is this season, and it was in the bubble. They may actually make it a permanent thing, but I don't think I really enjoy the way it is. I think they just got to keep revising it, or honestly think about the March Madness format. Really genuinely think about it, Adam Silver. It would be awesome if that NBA added that. That's my opinion. I would think some people would agree with that, but, a lot of basketball to be played, a lot of teams fighting for their playoffs lives to not be in the play-in round, but we will see. Very small amount of games. Margin of error is very minimum, so got to play your heart out. You got to want it. And the playoffs are coming. From the 18th to the 21st is a play-in tournament, and then the first round of the playoffs starts the 22nd. So stay tuned and enjoy the NBA playoffs. This has been Light Sports Breakdown.